Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against spitting with a little bit of soul, no time.
Welcome to the Please Remain Calm podcast. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
And I'm Daniel Gonzalez.
And we are here with our two guests today. Go ahead and introduce them.
Ryan Ramirez is a firefighter with the LA City Fire Department. Was a firefighter at Nines. Where are you working at now, man?
I'm at 2's in Boyle Heights.
Fire Station 2 in Boyle Heights. And we got Alex Saenz also, who's formerly from Fire Station 9, is currently working at Fire Station 11. Say hi, Alex.
How's it going?
Hey, before we get started here, I think it's important, especially on this episode, that we let you guys know that all of the opinions expressed here are our own. They do not reflect the opinions of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services.
Thank you.
Also, while I got your guys' ear right now off the bat before you start driving and trying to change lanes and flipping people off on the freeway, if you push the button to listen to this podcast, thank you so much. We really appreciate every single one of you that listens. Every episode, we've been getting more and more subscribers, which means you guys like the podcast and you're sharing it with your friends. And I'm so happy for that. We're so appreciative of you guys getting the word of mouth out for the podcast. Keep doing that, please. Keep sharing it with your friends and family. We've got some amazing guests coming on, just like we have today. But go right now, look at your phone, like the podcast, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us with placement on hot new podcast lists. It really gets us a lot more exposure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the places that that you listen to podcasts. So once again, thank you so much. Keep spreading the word on the podcast. We see it happening. We appreciate it. And we hope you keep doing it.
Yes, and if you have been a listener for a long time or have been sticking with us, you know that we have different ranges of shows. And some shows are just big money shows where we have a crazy-ass story that really pays off. And we try to space those out so we don't blow people away. But this is one of those shows, you guys. This is going to be about an incident that we talked about this, like a year ago? Was it a year ago that it happened?
It's over a year ago. They just had the 1-year anniversary.
Yeah, it was kind of like around the time we started the pod.
Let me send this video off.
So we've referred to it at different times, built up to it was a famous incident. We all remember that night.
Infamous.
Like we can't forget it, basically. Everybody was involved in one way or another, especially the two guests that we have who are actually freaking in the building.
So listen, man, when you become a firefighter, and you know, like we were talking about before, we have a lot of people that listen that are on the route to becoming a firefighter, that listen to this podcast because they found something that's, you know, kind of a resource for stories and real true to life stories about emotion and the real things that come along with doing this job. One of those real things that come along with being a firefighter is the shit that you see out there on a daily basis. Not only the patients that you see, the gore, the shootings, the stabbings, just the worst of humanity, the worst that humanity can act to each other. I mean, you see that on a daily basis. Fights, anger, animosity, all that stuff, accidents. There's all that stuff is tough to deal with on its own. When you have a profession like that, where you live with 10, 12, in Nine's case, I mean, how many guys are in Nines? There's so many
19
fully staffed rigs there because, you know, normally where you'd have a pump, you know, riding with the truck, it's 2 fully staffed engines. The truck rides by itself. You know, you got the 800 there. You got 2 rescue ambulances. A lot of guys in that station, okay, in close quarters in a crazy ass district.
So we talked about the district before, but do you want to just rehash where it is again?
Now that we have Alex and Ryan here, we've all been there. You guys were at Nines for how many years were you at Nines for?
Just shy of 3.
3, and Alex?
Just shy of 2.
Just shy of 2.
Yeah.
It really seems like, at least for me too, that 2-year mark was like the mark where I was like, all right, man, I've had enough of this shit. I'm fucking.
I was going to say, is that like the average turnover time, about 3 years or so there, would you say?
I'd say it depends on the shift, man.
Yeah.
If you got good leaders, good rated members, good, firefighters next to you, you're going to stay there a long time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the shift that we came from was having like some change of chairs in the front office, and a lot of us weren't getting what we wanted out of them.
Yeah.
for nines, you know, as being as busy as it is, it has to be fun. Once you take that fun aspect away from it, it's a fucking prison, you know?
Yeah.
Like nobody wants to go there and run, you know, 30 plus calls on one resource and then come back and it'd be dead silent and nobody's cracking jokes and you're like, dude, why am I here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You need that energy.
You need the support in the front office along with that camaraderie, dude. Once you have that, like
you can do anything.
You can have a shitty day and it'll still be fun because you're like, all right, dude, at least I'm in it with my brothers, you know. Or,
Yeah, and you did say something there important that we shouldn't gloss over. 30 plus runs in a regular shift, like on average, like these people that aren't getting rest basically.
Let's for those that don't know, man, let's talk about Nines. Nines district is right smack dab in the middle of Skid Row. Yeah. Okay, Skid Row area of Los Angeles, and pretty much anywhere around the world you can talk about Skid Row, and everyone knows you're talking about a fucked up place. You know, when I first got there, it was the year after they were the busiest station in the country, and you kind of. Nines is kind of that place, and I'm sure every department has one where, and there's a few in the LA City Fire Department where when you get off probation and you're looking to be a firefighter, a fireman's fireman, and really learn this job from guys that know how to do it, that have been doing it for years, that know all the tricks, you want to go someplace busy where you're not only going to learn from good guys who have been busy their entire careers because they fucking love it, but someplace where you're going to get the reps. You know, you're going to get the fires, and especially at Nines too, you're going to get the big fires. When you do get a fire, it's typically a big fucking fire. If it's not, you know, rubbish or a warming fire or the, you know, hundreds of other little bullshit fires you get. When you get a real structure fire, they're big fucking fires downtown. You know, you're getting those textile warehouses. You know, there's a lot of like illegal shit too, fireworks, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Place like this where they're filling, you know, butane and they've got huge tanks. Where normally an inspector would go in and know what the hell's going on, you know, a lot of times they're hiding this stuff. Right. You also have issues down there with forcible entry. Like you have weed spots. You got warehouses where places that have like satellite stores all over LA have all their inventory. You know, so they've got, you know, double locks, double doors, double security on everything. You know, especially the weed spots. I mean, you could have double, triple security on those doors and stuff.
Basically,
like
nothing's easy there.
No. Nothing's easy there, man. Even the bullshit little medical calls that you go on. It's even just to go there. Hey, I've been sick for a week. There's something simple that you would throw on the 800 and give a ride to the hospital. Let's go to the hospital. Is difficult because you're dealing with someone that's not all there, man. They're over here. They're you know, they're looking at the wall, and you're like, well, what's going on, man? It's like, my leg hurts. You're like, all right, well, what part of your leg? I don't know. You know, and then they open their leg, and it's a wound with maggots in it and all that shit. And you're just like, holy shit, man, why can't I just take this sick lady to the hospital?
There was another thing we talked about when we had Mike James on the show, like just finding your patient.
Oh yeah,
on a call. It's like a whole adventure. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like, okay, which of these 20 guys laying down is it?
You got a description of a blue tent, and there's 50 blue tents on the sidewalk.
Exactly. Hello,
person down on the corner. Hello? There's like fucking 30 guys laying on the ground.
Exactly.
Everybody looks dead.
Okay, cool.
But that's Nines, man. It's it is a crazy environment, and when you first show up there, it's a little fucking jarring. You know, you look around, you're like, what the hell did I get myself into? But then it's just like you said, man. You go out drilling. We used to drill at night, you know, just because downtown is so crazy during the day and it kind of dies down a little bit at night. And, but you get into this groove with the guys at the station. You start to, and it's just like Mike said, and I've talked about in the past, like, it's really where I feel like I grew into a man. You know, you work at becoming a firefighter. You work at getting this job. You're running around in your rookie year, and everyone's treating you like a kid. They even call you kid. Yeah. Hey, kid, go get the door. Hey, kid, help me out with this. Hey, kid, help me out with that. Well, I'm fucking 24 years old. You know what I mean? At this point, you know, and it's the first time you show up. You got a shield, and everyone kind of looks at you. Or you are new, definitely, but it's the first time that like everybody there, the AOs, everybody, the captains, talked to me and treated me like I was a fucking man.
Yeah.
And then you build this camaraderie with guys that had just gone through the same thing. You know, maybe they got here a year before or 2 years before, and they went through that same shit. And you go to a fire together and you high five afterwards and you talk about the fire and you talk about the close call and this, bale of fabric that fucking fell next to you, and you share these stories, and you build this cool camaraderie with these guys, man.
Yeah.
Aside from now, you all got money, especially if you're fucking new. You're all buying.
This part's coming. Yeah.
You're all buying Harleys, and you're all going out, and everyone's got hoochies, and everyone's going on trips. Havasu, and it's like, all right, shit, I'm a man now. Like I got. You're fucking doing this, on a boat in Cabo or whatever.
20-something years old.
Yeah. And you're like, fuck, I made it, dude. So you got this crazy, it's this crazy mix of like this new world.
Hey, Alex, you put your back down low.
Yeah.
It's covering your face. Okay.
It's this crazy mix of having this new world open up to you, having money in your pocket, but also having these crazy fucking experiences with crazy patients, exposure to these crazy incidents and shit like that. So
the other thing too is now you know how much more you can handle. That you didn't know that you could do before.
Yeah,
which it makes a difference in you, dude.
I don't know, man. And you hit a kind of a period of time where it's like you peaked your fun meter at a place like that too. It's just like these guys said, it never gets better over there.
No, it gets worse.
Yeah,
you're right though, dude. Yeah, even in the last few years.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
In your time there. What did you get out of Nines from being there? This incident aside. Yeah,
right. We haven't even gotten into the story yet.
Yeah.
This is good though.
I just want to set up like what Nines is, because it really does affect how this incident in particular affects all you guys.
Yeah.
And it's no secret why we've waited this long to even address this incident, because this incident that happened, this Boyd Street incident that happened just over a year ago. It's a once in a career type of incident that affects you as a firefighter to your core, man. I mean, we talked about Brent Lovren getting killed at that structure in Battalion 4. My battalion, I had just gotten there at 63s. But to this day, anytime I come up to a door to cut a lock or anything where I have a rotary saw, I'm going to cut and there's smoke in there, I'm thinking about that. And I put my foot up on that door. Not that it's going to do anything, but in my brain, it's like, at least I got something else. This door's not going to blast me in the face as I'm cutting it. And it might even be a situation where that shit, it's not even the conditions where that shit would happen. But that's how, as a firefighter, and when you talk to these guys that are AOs in these older spots, or you're working a lot in the valley, you run into those guys. A lot of those guys are guys that have spent years and years in 11s. Pasture. Yeah. You talk to those guys and they give you all these little tricks and shit. And it's like, fuck, man, I wonder what happened to this dude, or what he experienced on a call back in the 70s or in the early 80s that, built this warning system in his brain. He's passing it on to me. But it's something that I've always kept in mind as I came up. The older guys, even when they tell you something, you're like, that's never going to fucking happen.
Yeah.
It probably fucking happened. That's probably why, he brought it up and told you. What were your feelings about Nines before this incident?
So I got there as a rookie, third house rookie on the C shift. I was a medic prior to getting there. So they were telling me, hey, you're probably going to get shipped out somewhere. And I wanted to stay. I actually asked to be placed at Nines just because I like downtown LA. And like you said, they got massive fires. Yeah. Good fires, good experience, good forcible entry. And on top of that, I was a paper medic, meaning I just got out of medic school, got hired, never worked as a medic.
Were you sent there in a medic spot on 209 or a rotational spot? Or did everybody rotate now?
I was sent there as a fireman, and then they thought I was going to get shipped out right away. I ended up staying for 8 months as a fireman, and then they activated my medic, and then I ended up jumping shifts to the B shift because there was no medic vacancies on my shift.
Right.
And so that's when I went to Ryan's shift, and they activated me, and I was in a rotational spot.
Were you thinking coming out of probation, hey, I want to go to Nines? Or just I want to go to a busy spot? Yeah,
100%. I didn't want to go to the valley. I'm not a fan of the valley. The heat and and just the kind of the culture out there is a little different. Yeah. Downtown, I like more fast paced, and on top of that, I wanted to learn.
Valley's like a different.
It is.
Department,
it's a different department. Everybody's lax. I mean, it's nice when you get some side days there, but it's just too slow. You know. But
I always felt that way too, man. And then how did you wind up at Nines?
Third house. Yeah, same. But so
and you're not a medic, right?
No, fireman. Okay. Yeah.
So you got sent there for your third house. So those that don't know, we've talked about in the past, when you're a rookie, you go to three separate houses, 4 months each. Typically it's a truck house, engine house, and then your last house has an 800 in it, and you kind of just rotate and get to know policies, procedures, and stuff like that. So a lot of times that'll happen. You'll be at a house, your third house, and you know, they won't have a spot for you. Or there'll be a vacancy at that spot, and they'll say, "Hey, we're just gonna hang on to you, dude."
Yeah. So I graduated my class in the top seed. So top recruit. Went to 33s for my first house. My senior firefighter was Stalter. He's an AO now, but he was an old nines guy.
Yeah.
So and it's funny when I think about, like, you know, my rookie year and stuff like that. It's at each house I went to, or each station that I went to for probation, there was a nines guy. You know?
Oh, really?
Like 33s, I had Stalter. When I went to 86s in Studio City, it's a single engine rescue. Super slow, but you know, you still get some decent calls out there. I had Evans, was a medic, was my senior medic.
Darren?
He was a nines guy. Yeah, Darren.
And my classmate.
Super cool guys, you know, like, I think, you know, when you think of nines and you think of nines alum, you know, they're super approachable. They're always willing to teach you. They always push, you know, hey, try to be the best. You know, there's no bragging. There's no like bravado. Like, I'm nines. Like, you can't talk to me. I'm not going to say what's up to you. It's like, hey, you know, we're nines and we're the busiest, but you know, we're humble about it. You know, there's no showing off. It's like, hey, we're here to work and we're going to put that work in. So I don't know if, you know, there was any like leverage with that, you know, but talking to my captain, he was like, hey dude, like, I want you to go to a good house. Like, these, you know, these are some possibilities. Yeah. And, I was like, if I can, you know, like, I'd like to go to nines. You know, I had both senior firefighters and a medic. It just had that, you know, it's mystique about it. It was just like, you know, it's calling me. And I picked a couple of you know, sod days there. And I was actually working on the shift that I actually got sent to, with Kevin Frank and Eugenio and a bunch of other guys. And it was cool, man. Like, the amount of stuff that they taught me on just a rookie coming in, like, you know, you're a first house rookie or a second house rookie, like at nines, you're not going to ride the 8-ball because you don't have that experience right there. They're going to put you on fireside. So it kind of sucks that you're bumping one of those guys off, but you know, at the same time, they're willing to teach you. Yeah. So,
and everybody's gone through it too. Yeah. To a certain degree, you know, that's the cool thing about some place like that is the new guy comes in. It's not like you're coming into a spot where like everyone's already established there and they haven't been through what you've been through. Everyone goes in there with that same kind of like fucking wide-eyed, like, holy shit, I'm at nines. You know, okay, I really got to learn this job. Another thing that should be said too is you don't really know, like, you get done with probation, you think you know how to be a fireman. You don't really fucking know shit.
You're just, like another you're just year. Watching the guy next to you, like, okay, don't fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't trip. Man. Don't fall.
Yeah, right.
You know, do I bring the right tools? Like, okay, all right. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, this guy's doing the same shit I'm doing. Okay, I think I'm in the right spot. Until you actually learn it. And you're like,
exactly.
Right, you know, it's muscle memory now.
Especially because nobody says anything. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I just remember. I can remember because I kind of got there right at the same time as like 4 or 5 of us got there. Yeah, no, all those guys are captains now, but I can remember like going to like our first fire and like pulling up and just and I had been to a handful of fires at that point too, but it was my first time like getting there and like I literally just opened the fucking door and everyone was gone. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, where the fuck is everybody? You know, I'm like, go and grab a ladder. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing my own thing. But it was like that was another thing. It's like the first time, like, everybody's not like looking after you. Like when you're a rookie too, like everyone's kind of like watching over their shoulder, make sure you're not gonna fucking kill yourself or walk over
telling
a cliff
you what
or
to
something.
do or something.
Yeah. It just kind of is the first time you like really get the sense of, okay, fuck, man, I'm a cog in this machine here. Let me fucking make sure I do my part. The other thing that is cool about working at a place like 9s or 11s or 33s is the just automatic respect you get when you're working in different places around the department too. Mm-hmm. You know, you show up. Not only that, like getting hired, assigned hired places and shit like that. Like, you know what I mean? Everybody knows you're going to show up. Everybody knows you're not afraid to work at wherever the fuck, you know, you get assigned or detailed to. It just like adds to this sense that you're an all right guy. You're from 9s? All right, he's cool. Oh, you're from 11s? All right, cool, man. Oh, 33s? You know what I mean? So that's cool. That's a cool, like, a badge of honor to wear.
It's as worse as it could possibly get. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Everything from, like, the station layout to the calls. I mean, it's not going to get any busier than 9s. You know, the whole station layout, you got to back your car. You got to take the cars out every morning, back them in, back in the new car. So it's like, you know, every other day gets better, every other sod day. which is a overtime shift gets better. So
Yeah, it's like the worst of all worlds.
it's as worse as it could get.
It really is, man. Like every call, even the simple calls are filled with grime and shit
Yeah.
and bugs and nastiness. You know what I mean? And then you throw COVID in the mix.
Yeah.
You know, and then they had a typhus outbreak, shit like
yeah,
that.
oh,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, that's right.
So it really is. But just like you guys said, it's all about the crew you're with. It's all about the captains that you have looking out for you. And you build this real, true camaraderie with this group of guys that you're going through this crazy ass life experience with. Because looking back at the whole thing now, 15 years later, that 3 years of my life spent at Nines was so fucking invaluable to my growth as a man, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In and out of relationships, dealing with like alcohol and like, drugs, going out and like traveling and fucking, all this shit.
Yeah. It's a whole second act of your life.
It really is, man. And
the 9 years.
And I've talked about it in the
dog
past.
years, man.
Yeah.
Like
Shaved a couple
feeling like
years
I've
off
been
your
like
life.
4 different people in my life. And that transition into Nines was really like one of those transitions from being like a kid, teenager, like, oh, I'm trying to do this thing, to like, oh shit, I'm a man with all these fucking responsibilities.
Yeah.
So it's the relationships that you build on a crew like that, in a place like that, are very fucking strong, and they stick with you throughout your career, man. Like as you go throughout your career, you're gonna run into guys that you work with at Nines, and you're gonna have this little secret, like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
And you're always gonna have that shared experience of working at a crazy place like that.
You know all their secrets.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the bodies
all
are
their
buried.
secrets.
You know,
Literally.
they're like, hey, you work with that guy? Oh yeah. Oh man, he's such a nice guy.
You're like, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Is he? Yeah. Going back to the environment that you're working in there too, and all the elements you have to work with. I forgot we should send him the video too. There's that "Fool's Gone Wild" reel right now,
just the other
with
day.
Nines. Yeah, the guy just jumps on the front of the engine, just
You know
won't
what? I should do
let
that.
go,
I
dude.
should forward you
It's
that.
amazing. And yeah, where else is that happening?
Yep.
You know?
And that was like my first shift when I was a rookie, still on probation. I'm riding the 800, and I'm riding it with Kenny Frazier, who was involved also. And
He was a rookie at 63s.
yeah.
And
We're cruising down the street, and just not on a call or anything, and this homeless man jumps on the back. And I'm like, oh damn, like, do I need to put a backup? And Frazier's like, no, I got it, don't worry about it. I'm like, what? Jumps out of the ambulance and is just like, hey, get off, starts yelling. I'm like, oh shit, like, so it's like you get that kind of salt, you get callous to all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
I'll
you
just,
shoot people.
yeah.
just real quickly, my first call at Nines, I'm on Rescue 209 with a guy who's a captain now. I won't say his name. And we're pulling out. We got to run. We're pulling out of the back gate, and it's fucking morning, and he pulls out, and he makes a left right there. We're going on to San Julian, and he stops. Son of a bitch! He stops, throws it in park, gets out, walks over. I lean over and look, and he pushes this guy over. This guy was taking a shit on the sidewalk, and he walks up and he pushes the forward, and the guy goes, "Hey man, hey!" And he falls back onto his turd. He goes, "Don't be taking a shit on my sidewalk, man! Fuck!" And he comes and gets in. I'm like, "Where the fuck am I working, dude?"
Right.
And then I realized that every Saturday we got to go around the station with the fucking inch line and bleach and hose down the sidewalk and the side of the station, because people piss and shit on the sidewalk right there.
And then you got the kitchen window right there where they just hang out.
Right there,
He wasn't there yet when that big ass tree that was in the front of the station.
Yeah.
Remember that little
Yeah,
garden?
yeah.
It was like a sand pit, just of shit. Like
It was a human litter box.
every morning,
Human
like
litter
they would come just like, and you're like, what the fuck is that smell, man? You walk out of the station, you're like, oh, dude, they finally pulled the tree out, put concrete, and it's like, oh, thank God. Like, finally, it's so easy to clean. Nobody's out there with the shovel, like, trying to fucking rake sand with shit. And it's like,
We got
Should've got one of those
kitty
scoops,
box,
man.
dude.
Yeah, get one of those scoops.
That was one of the house duties. You had to change the sand.
oh, dude, I swear to God, man.
Yeah.
There was like a big pile of shit, like, right in front of the station. And I was like, I think I was just got off a probation, and one of the guys like gave me some gloves. He's like, "Hey, dude, go pick that shit up." And I was like, "Fuck you, dude!" Like, for one, I'm not picking anybody's shit up but my own. And I was like, and two, I don't get paid to fucking pick shit up, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
hell yeah.
grab the garden hose, like
Turd.
hose it down real quick. But I was like, dude, fuck that.
Yeah, man.
hilarious.
Every Saturday we'd be out there in the morning hosing down human turds and fucking piss off the sidewalk, because that's Nines,
Part
dude.
of your station
The
duties.
craziest part about this is when you were telling that story, I thought you were about to tell a different story.
Oh, which one? The running over the guy?
Yes,
Okay.
running over the dude.
I mean, that's a whole nother thing, you
Yeah.
know? I don't know if that happened. That didn't happen when you guys were there, right?
Where-
It happened once when I was there.
We had
Running
we had,
over a guy laying next to
We
the
had
gate.
a guy.
He wasn't
I
late.
was
He
on-
threw,
I
he
was-
threw himself out there.
Yeah.
They're just,
We had-
That happened too.
Yeah.
That's all
hey, he wasn't there when we were driving.
We saw it on video. The guy that he crawls in front of the rig.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was on that call. I wasn't the. I responded to it, but yeah, that guy was pretty fucked
But
up.
it's like,
Yeah, man.
it's
It's
like
like
coming to
collapse
America.
lung and
Like, don't be
shit,
pulling that phone down the stairs shit.
But that's nice, dude. Crazy people that will do shit like that. Go
Yeah.
lay down in front of your
Yeah.
rig or hang on to the
Literally-
back of the
literally
rig.
do shit.
Yeah.
You know, or
Yeah.
jump on the front of the rig. That's what you're dealing with all the time.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh yeah, man.
every call's a
Yeah.
fucking
And
story.
those
dude.
aren't even the calls. Yeah.
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 My I remember my first call, man. It was an overdose in the Santee Alley.
Yeah.
It was with Danny Barrera and I think it was one other guy, and we're on the engine. And this guy, I thought he was dead, dude. Like, was blue as like the sky. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, this guy's cold, sweaty, like, you know,
Yeah.
paper EMT, like,
Yeah.
Done
hey,
deal.
this guy's dead, you know, like pronouncing him. And
Yeah.
here comes Danny, like, nah, he's not dead, he's just overdosed. Gives him fucking Narcan, and this dude like wakes up, stands up, and like, I'm like, what,
Yeah.
dude? I just saw a miracle. Like, you know, I've never experienced that in my life. Never, you know, like.
You looked at
You're on-
Danny
you're
I
on-
was
Who
like,
are
who are you? Like,
Who
this
did
guy's
this?
fucking amazing. Just gave him some shit, and then like woke up. Yeah, the guy's like, oh, thanks, guys. Like, you know, I'm just gonna go home, and like just walked away. I was like, dude, what the fuck am I in? Like,
and that's how it is every
and
day.
that's
Yeah.
like
That's
all
nice,
the
man.
overdoses down there, dude. You're
That's
just, like,
nice.
Yeah.
Give them
Start-
some Narcan, and they start walking away.
Yeah,
It's
They
start an
don't-
IV.
yeah.
They wouldn't even wait, man. They
Yeah.
just and take off.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you got an IV in your arm. All right,
Yeah.
see you, bro. You know.
Oh no, don't go.
I
Yeah.
remember.
All right.
that,
No,
man.
please stop.
So all that being said, let's
Yeah.
let's dig into the reason that we're here, man.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
set the scene.
That's Nines. So now you guys got a feel for what it's like to be at Nines, man. It is a crazy place, but it's a fun place to work if you're a new firefighter.
Yeah.
It's a fun place to work if you enjoy being around like-minded guys, gals who enjoy being busy. Don't bitch about shit. Don't bitch about having to work. You know, just go with the flow. Or if you do bitch, you bitch in the shower while you're crying. You know what I mean? But you don't add it to the stress of the day.
Yeah.
Everybody has like one like tired of this shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely have that day, but
Yeah.
it's like, hey, dude.
But they're
I've
few
been
and far
there.
between, and
Yeah.
you know what
Yeah.
you're getting into,
Yeah.
and you just go with the flow of the day, and
Right.
you find the fun where it's at. But mostly you create relationships with guys and gals. You go through these crazy calls with crazy ass people, and you build these. You know, that's all our lives are, man. Are just snapshots of time, snapshots of memory, where you had a laugh, where you had a smile with somebody that you care about. You know, where you got through some shit and looked at each other and went, "Oh fuck, all right, we're okay."
Yeah.
That's all life is, man. All your good memories, all the shit you think back on when you're on your deathbed, it's all just those little snapshots, right?
Yeah.
Then an incident like this Boyd Street incident presents itself. Now, mind you, that's kind of the vibe. Now, would you say that was the vibe of the day? Just your typical Nines
Oh,
day?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was
We just finished dinner.
shitting and getting. We're playing
Yeah.
dice for dishes and bullshitting and.
And
know,
you were on the 8 ball.
Yeah,
You were on
so-
809 and you were
I was
on
on Rescue 9.
Rescue 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you guys at the station when the call went down? Because I had heard
Yeah,
that somebody was
it
on
was
the
so
on the road
everybody was in quarters. I think Rescue 209, right? You said you were on 9.
Yeah.
Rescue 209
yeah.
was on the air, and they had like just got a call. Structure goes out, and I think they ended up driving by just to kind of check it out. Spotted smoke. They did their little size up, and then we all started. Pretty
And-
much just an ideal situation, right?
and it was
Everybody's coming
right
out.
down the street from
Yeah.
the station too.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
half
Yeah.
mile,
Yeah.
quarter mile,
s-
maybe
quarter mile.
Quarter mile.
Yeah, right out of the station, left on San Pedro, and then bam. Right
Did you
there.
guys see anything when you pulled out? Any loom up? Or
No.
Nothing.
anything?
Nothing.
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 And the report
But-
from them initially was just
Just
light smoke showing?
light smoke showing, but you know, everybody in the we all take pride in knowing the district, right? Especially if you ride the 800 or the ambulance.
Sure.
Yeah.
And-
Especially downtown with all the one-way streets.
Mhm.
yeah,
You know,
you
little
have to
little
know the
tiny
district.
alleys and
Yeah.
different shit like that.
Yeah.
You really got to know the district down
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then so Boyd Street itself, right? We call that like Bong Row. It's like where all the supplies for like the glass and
Yeah.
Bong Row, I
CO2
like it.
canisters,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So within Skid Row, you have all the little fashion district,
Sure.
garment district, you know, flower district, Bong Row, So you have a pretty good mix right there. You know, 9s is like the smallest first in through 106
square mile.
stations.
Yep.
1 square mile.
stations, you know, but it's the most dense
So crazy,
population, which
Yeah.
is it's crazy because it's like, all right, you got 19 guys in one station that serves, you know, 2.3 miles.
And they're constantly
square
gone.
mile.
Yeah.
So
It's funny too how like none of the hospitals accept any of the 9s patients. Like
I don't know.
and all these hospitals in the area have catchment areas, you know, where they only accept patients from a
Yeah.
certain area.
Yeah.
All of their catchment areas come right up to 9's district and stop.
Yeah.
So every patient that
Gotta
we
go to
have,
county.
you know, you got to go to county with them.
Yep.
county's the preferred hospital anyway
Yeah.
for me.
So standard day, you guys get the call, you get rung down, you're cruising over there, you pull up, and just standard light smoke showing. Was the building was all locked up and closed up?
Yeah, locked up. It was like just past 6 o'clock. Sun's still out, you know.
Yeah.
Truck goes to the address, or engine goes to the address first. They pull past just a little bit. Truck spots. I was on Rescue 809, so we spotted and parked on San Pedro, just past Boyd Street.
Trying to stay out of the way.
yeah.
You know, anytime you show up on a rescue to a structure fire, obviously you're there in case somebody gets injured. A lot of times the paramedic rescue will be part of medical group, and just in case one of the guys or a couple of the guys get injured at the fire, we have a paramedic rescue there right there ready to go to treat them and get them to the hospital. But you always try to typically spot your rig out of the way,
Yeah, get out of the way.
Yeah,
especially a
Don't-
big incident
don't
like that where
block
you're going to have a
hydrants.
second alarm or something
Yeah.
like that. You know what I mean? You don't want to block the hydrants. You don't want to block access for the trucks or engines
Yeah.
that are coming in to spot over there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Let's play this this little video.
Yeah.
It actually has a Mayday, but it has good video of pulling up initially on scene.
So this is Boyd Street. That's the building?
yeah. This
Yeah.
little black one, the smoking totes.
To the left. Yeah, that one right there.
Yeah, so you have
So
See a little
two little rolling steel doors, storefront in the front, and then storage all throughout the back. I want to say it was about 75 feet deep.
and listen, man, this is pretty much textbook bread and butter. You know, smoke showing. You got
Yeah.
a rolling steel door there,
Yeah.
which is typical for all of these businesses. You know, those things roll down. They lock with locks on the bottom.
Yeah.
So you
Cut
can
it
see the
open,
guys.
See what you got in there.
I mean, this is great video because you're seeing just how bread and butter and how not out of the ordinary anything was at the
Right.
beginning of this incident.
Right.
Nothing really that's jumping out at you as something that would say, "Oh shit,
Yeah,
this is gonna be a fucked
yeah.
up incident." You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that you look at these videos, you know, and you see all the basics happening, right? You see
Yeah.
inside guy
Cutting
doing
the
forcible
tabs.
entry, you know, top of tiller throwing a 35. You got the engineer pulling a running line,
Hose being
you know,
flaked out.
hose being
everything.
flaked out. Everybody's doing what they're taught, you know, and that's the
Right.
cool thing about 9s. Is like every day we try to practice something, right?
And everyone
So
knows their position.
Everybody
of
knows
play.
their position. And the C shift, you know, at the time and still now, they're probably the crew that's the most senior there amongst members, like being there, you know, for quite a while.
So you guys were on the roof. Shit turned sideways, and we'll get into all the details of what happened up there. But essentially, the call came out to get off the roof, and then this shit happens.
Yeah.
So that's you, the first
Yeah,
one coming off the aerial there,
That's-
Ryan.
Yeah. So right about now, right, they're saying get off the roof. We drop our tools. You got Staley on the aerial. I start sliding down the rail.
Look at that.
I bump in front of him, and as I'm coming down the aerial, you can kind of see him motion for me to turn around. And you know, I always practice, you know, speed when it comes to getting down the aerial.
Yeah.
For reasons like this, you know, you
Sure,
never know
man.
when it's gonna happen. But I was just trying to get down as fast as I could without falling, so that the guys behind me could get down. But yeah, right here, I look back, I see the guys at the top. And
God.
it really hits me, you know. I'm like, fuck, dude, my brothers are burning. They're not gonna get down. I look below the aerial. There's nobody there. Everybody's running. Hoses are popping, and
Mind you, that whole time too, there's still guys inside.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll get to Alex has a
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of
yeah. So you can see right here, like all those hoses under the aerial starting to pop.
So
So
that's
see that little
you-
speck right there that was underneath.
Yeah.
holy shit.
So that's you getting
Yeah,
to the end of the,
I'm right there toward the back of the truck, the tiller bucket. I start yelling for guys to get a protection line. You can see the guy running with the hose.
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
AO Lou from 21s finally, one of the guys gets a line and he starts squirting water on us as we're pulling the guys off the aerial. But Soriano, the AO, and Captain Aguirre were both still on fire at the pedestal coming off the aerial.
Wow, man.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that fire is so intense it blew past the other side of that truck, and there was a couple of tents that were on fire
Down the street.
Right.
Yeah.
Just directly on the other side of that truck, there was
it's and take a look at the
look at
35 too. You see
yeah.
that 35?
Yeah.
You remember where they
Jesus
were putting it up initially?
Yeah.
So that 35 got flipped and shoved, what is that, 5 feet over to the right, almost falling off the roof, just by the force of the fire blowing out of the front of that building.
Yeah.
Damn.
Damn.
When you read about our structured firefighting gear too, man, you can see too, it's designed to do just that.
Yeah, it held up.
To
mostly.
harden, to
It's
carbonize
crazy.
like that before it actually burns through and catch fire. So for a turnout coat to actually catch fire, for your helmet to be melted like that, I mean, the amount of direct flame impingement and heat
Oh,
that
yeah.
you were
Holy shit,
eating
that's his helmet?
to have that happen is massive, man.
Whose helmet was
and
that?
that's Kenny Fraser, this gentleman right here.
Damn.
When he came down the aerial, I believe Staley and Kativo kind of just threw him off,
Yeah.
trying to get everybody down as fast as we could.
Yeah.
So I think the initial impact, maybe his helmet kind of came off, and it was just so hot that
Sitting
it kind
there
of crushed a
melting,
little
yeah.
bit. I don't know for sure what happened to his helmet, but just looking at that helmet was just fucking. crazy to think
Listen.
about.
If you guys listening out there in podcast world have ever been to a bonfire, right? And you just get a little, get that fire, going a good bonfire on the beach or a lakeside or something like that, and feel that heat just standing, 10, 15 feet away from it. When you have a good fire blowing like that, man, even coming up the street, an entire address away from it, you feel the heat from it.
Yeah.
And that's just a fire burning ordinary combustibles. When you're talking about, because it wound up being what, butane?
Yeah,
was
was
it honey oil? Or?
It was a mixture of stuff. There was like CO2 canisters.
It was basically
I don't remember exactly what gases they had in there with those little canisters, but they were storing, excessive amounts.
It was
of
a place where they were filling them, though, right? They had
for like
big tanks.
lighter fluids and stuff like that.
So, essentially, what it looks like happened here, and for those of you, there's something called a BLEVE, right?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. Something you learn about in fire science,
Yeah.
1A or whatever. But essentially, when you have fuel tanks or you have butane, liquid butane or something like that, everything that burns, it burns as a gas. Whether you have gasoline or whatever fucking gas, liquefied gas, when you actually go to light it, what you're actually lighting is the fumes coming off of that flammable liquid. So when you have something like a huge tank that's obviously made to hold pressurized gas that is in liquid form, and it gets overheated and there's any kind of like weak spot in that metal or a bad weld or something falling in the structure punctured it or something like that, and you get those escaping fumes, as that entire tank heats up and the liquid inside boils and rapidly turns into gas, that pressure gets too much, it breaks the fucking container open, and all of that
Everything
liquid,
goes,
just like that, expands to gas in a heartbeat and lights on fire. And that's how you get these massive explosions. And you'll see it. You can Google, or search for BLEVEs, BLEVE, and you'll see fuel tanks, propane tanks, shit like that, all over the place. It happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that is what happened in a fire like this. Obviously, I don't know the entire, ATF investigation, but it seems like that's the type of thing that happened.
Yeah.
And that's something that you would know, you know what I mean? Like as an inspector going in and seeing, but just like I said before, a lot of times these places are doing illegal shit or they're hiding stuff from the inspectors and guys that go in there, or you just go in and do, your regular inspections, every 3 years or something like that.
Yeah,
And they don't let you in that back door.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the city after this incident has gotten really good about placarding stuff. We pulled up to this building on the day of the fire, and there was no placarding system.
Yeah,
so there's no warning of what kind of material is in there, flammable, liquids, electrical, whatever it is. But now after this incident, they got task forces just going out there identifying, what kind of materials in here, how much is it, trying to get a placard. So
Reactionary again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Walk us through. Just walk us through. So you were on the 8 ball. You got the call. You got there. You pulled down the street. Walk us through what happened on the roof. Like so as part of the roof team, you show up as an 8 ball and you get an assignment from the IC, correct?
Yeah. So I'll run you through the C shifts,
And we'll get into yours.
the
right
C
after.
shifts SOGs real quick.
Yeah.
So whenever you're on the 8 ball or on the rescue, right? Usually if you're on the 800 and the guys are in house, which they're assigned to that station, maybe they're on a different shift. The truck will always try to take them to the roof since they're expected to know the truck operation. For the 800, additional ladder, so either a 35 or a good 24. In this case, we pulled up. 135 was already up. The aerial was up. No other location for the next 35. So initially,
And that should be pointed out too, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That this building is a 1-story with
it
attic
was a
space.
little tall 1-story between, a
Yeah, it's in
2-story,
a row. Yeah.
a 2-story on the Bravo side, and then you had a 4-story on the Delta side. So it's kind of in
So-
between.
And nowhere to go, nowhere to get off but the front,
Yeah.
right? And you always typically look for that at a big fire is you put your initial ladders up, not in front of a window, not in front of a door, just in case
Yeah.
something like that happens. But you always want to put a secondary ladder somewhere else just in case some shit like this happens and you got to fucking bail off somewhere
Yeah,
else.
and then you even look at the layout of this, right? There's 2 rolling stills in the front. You have to throw your ground ladder right there
Yeah.
in front of an opening.
There's nowhere, no safe place
So there's
to do it.
there's no other location for it.
It's not even like you could have thrown to the building to the side
No.
and gotten there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because it was, I want to say it's about 15 feet on the Bravo side, that wall. And
Yeah.
then the wall on the Delta side was probably, I don't know, 45 to 50 feet up.
Yeah. So
So,
basically, there's one way in, one way out.
Yeah.
And it sets up a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some other SOGs. So additional ladders, right? And then once you're on the roof, drop bag for a protection line. In this case, we got there. They initially gave us to assist the engine inside, but we did the face-to-face with the captain too, which was Vic Aguirre. And he was like, no, I know you guys are going to the roof with me. Went back over the radio, tells Chief, hey, I'm taking Rescue 809 on the roof with us. So
when you talk about like firefighters, man, Vic Aguirre is
Oh,
as
yeah,
good as
man.
they come, man.
I remember you telling
fucking
me.
legend.
Yeah. Good as they
Yeah.
come.
I had a whole lot of respect for him before the incident, but
Yeah.
after the incident, man, my heart is just fucking with that guy 100% through his recovery and everything.
And another nines guy,
Yeah.
another guy that came up through nines.
But yeah, so they gave us initially they gave us to back up the engine or assist the engine. Victor Aguirre says, "Hey, no, you guys are getting diverted. You're going up with the truck." So me and my partner realized, hey, there's no need for another 35. We can't throw it anywhere. Grab our sounding tools. We head up the aerial. The guys in the truck are already suited up at the top with Victor. So initially, me and my partner Kativo, we get up there. He starts drop bagging. I start sounding my way out to the truck.
Hey,
we
man,
get-
can I pause to have you explain what drop bagging and
Yeah.
sounding is?
So we have a drop bag, which is just it's like 5/16 inch halyard.
Yeah.
We throw that down to the engineer. They'll attach a hose line to it, and then we'll pull that back up with us. They'll connect it, and then
So you'll
We'll get
hook
water
like the
for
end of the rope
right.
and then drop the whole
Yeah.
bag down.
yeah,
to hoist
That
up.
way he can hook
Yeah.
up. You can hoist up a line. And anytime you have a big building like this where you think you're going to be up there cutting some holes, it's nice to have a protection line because if you open that thing up and it's pressurized smoke that lights off and it's fire, just like I said before, man, even standing back here, if that wall is fire, it's fucking hot.
Yes.
oh yeah,
It's hot,
100%.
dude. And you're like this,
Yeah.
you might even put your mask on just to help with the heat on a big fire like that where you're cutting a strip and you're in there actually having to work and that thing lights off and it's right in front of you. It's nice to have a protection line to just blow a fog into
Yeah,
that,
a
just to
little,
blow the
blow it
heat
away.
and
Help.
smoke away from you and just help take a little bit of that heat off of you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and we also have it up there just in case if somebody goes in, at least we can. One of the things we might be able to do is, hey, let's just hit them with the straight stream.
Yeah.
And try to cool them down. If
Yeah.
the conditions are with that. Get to the roof. My partner starts drop bagging. He starts pulling it up. I sound out with the truck guys, and we're kind of behind the curve, so I have my safety glasses on because I was thinking, hey, I'm going to do forcible entry before going in with the engine before we got diverted. I didn't have my structure gloves on. We start sounding out. I'm sounding out with the AO and the top and tiller guys. I'm looking at my conditions on the roof. Real light lazy smoke coming out of the front, but it is kind of that brown tinge color. So it's,
Ugly.
some of the smoke reading conditions we always focus on, like, okay, if it's black, like heavy black, right, it's going to be like contents. If it's white smoke, hey, it's probably somebody putting water or something like that. If it's brown, it's getting into the structural members. If it's a yellow or orange color, hey, there might be some kind of chemicals in here or something like that. So we already had that kind of little hamster rolling in our mind, like, hey, this probably been burning for a little while. So we sound out. The conditions on the roof are pretty stable. You got 3 AC units up there with light lazy smoke coming out of them. We sound out about 50 feet, maybe 40 feet. And then, so it's a tall 1-story, and then it kind of drops down, and it's still a 1-story, but it's like a smaller size of it, right?
Hey,
so
I'm sorry, man.
Did it feel like a different roof?
Yeah.
No, it felt good up there, but we didn't go past that,
Gotcha.
right? So we probably stopped maybe 10 or 15 feet to where it drops, and it was only like maybe a 4 or 5 foot drop, and then it flattened back out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we start sounding out.
But I was gonna say we should explain what sounding out is, because people who don't know are gonna think it's like, yeah.
So we have a tool used for sounding. We call it a rubbish hook. It's a 6-foot tool with 2 tines on it for sounding. It's kind of in a triangle fashion, so you try to use that flat portion to get a better idea of what kind of roof we're on. So we're sounding for integrity.
So you know where to walk, basically, right?
Yeah.
You're pounding, you're feeling, because that's the other thing too, man. Is like any fire, you don't, just like you said, you don't really know how long this thing's been burning. Without cutting the thing open and really looking, you don't know for sure what type of roof you're on. So a lightweight constructed roof compared to like an older conventional construction, you have a lot more time, a lot bigger timber on conventional construction than a lightweight. And so a lot of times the first thing we're going to do is get somebody out there with the sounding tool. And it's like you said, it's 6 feet long, and you're pounding the shit out of that roof just to make sure it's not a soft spot. Your sounding tool is not going to go through. You're listening for actual structural members, because something hollow is going to sound different than if you're right on top of a rafter or on top of a purlin or something like that. So you're sounding to kind of get an idea of what direction shit is going, that the roof, as you're sounding, you're also kind of bouncing on the roof a little bit to feel if it's spongy, if it's bouncy, shit like that.
And
so
So
you're
for
just
people
looking
who
for
aren't watching, it's like you're literally just banging this tool into the roof.
and you're basically looking for a safe path to get
travel.
to where
Exactly.
you're gonna cut your hole. That way, if shit goes south, you have you got a safe path to haul
get
ass
off.
back to the ladder and get the fuck off.
Right.
And so the width of the building is maybe, I'd say 50, maybe 50 by 100, right?
Yeah,
and
it's not
then
that big.
it only goes back maybe another 50, and then it has that little 5-foot drop, and then it goes back the rest of the building. So we're sounding out. My AO says, hey, we're going to cut right here. So he starts cutting, and some of the things, we're always taught is like, hey, when the AO is cutting, if you don't already have your gloves on or your face piece on, now's that time to do it, right? So he dips this on, he starts cutting. I go ahead and I throw all my crap on. So I throw my face piece on, my gloves, I click in, turn my SCBA bottle on, right? By the time he's done cutting, I grab my tool, we punch it and pull it. So we're just kind of louver it a little bit, pull it out of the way so that we can continue working. And then we're punching to make sure there's no, craft paper or anything like that, that we can go straight through to get, the smoke cleared out for the engine company and the superheated gases down below.
While all this is happening, Alex and the other guys that were going inside are all suiting up, getting their lines ready and everything to go inside. These are coordinated attacks, right? The roof team and the inside team, they work in conjunction with each other. The engine team will usually go through and try to find the seat of the fire, and then they'll let the roof team know, hey, we found the fire. It's in this back, CD corner of the building. And then the roof team can go, hey man, we just opened up a hole. We're in the back half of the building in the center, and we're getting pressurized smoke out of here. They're talking to try to, in conjunction try to find where the fire is so you can get water on the fire. Put
Right.
the damn thing
So,
out.
so let's go to your perspective and how you rolled up.
So I was on the rescue 9. We get the call. I'm with a out of house partner that day. He was from down south, Watts. So I told him, hey, we get anything, just stick with me. Came down, saw it was on Boyd Street. San Pedro is a pretty big street, so I pulled around the corner, parked across the street, made sure he had all the stuff, grabbed my stuff, ran across the street. I like doing a face-to-face with the captain, just because he'll give you an assignment. Rather, if you go over the radio, he has to kind of say, hey, for the chief to hear, hey, go be medical. So made face-to-face with Captain Aguirre. He said, hey, go attach yourself with the engine. So he goes over the radio, tells chief, hey, I got rescue 9 attached with the engine. So I go to the truck. First I go to the engine, see if there's any tools I can grab off. Everybody already had everything. So I asked the engineer, hey, do you need anything? He's like, no, I'm good. So I run up to the truck. I know that they carry 3 rotary saws, so I know 2 of them were already gone. So I went and grabbed the other one.
And that's kind of as a rescue coming up, getting attached to a fire company. That's kind of what you're doing. You're just kind of filling in, and they've got their, just like we talked about, their roles to play, and you're just like, hey man, you need any help? You know,
you
with
just
your
support
supply
them.
or whatever.
Get in where
No,
you fit in.
okay, you get in where you fit in.
The main thing is just support whoever needs it, because you're on the rescue. You're not going to be a fire slayer for the day. You know, you're there to support the guys that are on the fire resource.
And you still do have to have in the back of your mind that you should be available in case one of the guys gets hurt.
Yeah,
know?
you're still
You got all your
paramedic.
medical
Yeah.
equipment,
Exactly.
everything. Yep. So I run to the truck to the onside, grab a rotary saw, and then just start cutting open doors. As I was cutting open a door, I got a little whiff of the smoke just wisping out, and it choked me out. Like I couldn't. Yeah. So right away I put my face piece on, put my gloves on because I knew we were gonna go inside, and then engine 9 goes in, engine 2 and 9 goes in, and then I'm just at the door, just helping them, pulling hose, getting boxes out of the way. It was jam packed. It was probably like 3-4 feet wide. You know, these guys are going in.
So talk to me about the door you went in. You went in the man door, or you went in one of the rolling steels?
The rolling steel.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the rolling steel came up, and there was a man door behind that, or when you rolled that up, was it just wide open?
So there was 2 rolling steels. One of them had just stuff boxed all the way up against it, and
Okay.
the other one had a couple boxes, but we can move it, and they can make their way straight down.
So it was a path through the boxes
Yeah,
through that one
yeah.
side. Okay.
So they had to get the boxes out of there.
All right.
So by that time they were already down there. So I'm just supporting them, and then I'm just looking at conditions. And I remember sitting there helping with hose, and I got Captain Salas behind me, and then engineer Scott Brennan, he yells in Captain Salas's ear, "Hey, you got shitty conditions in the back." And I'm looking, I'm like, it's not that bad right here, right? It's kind of weird. So anyways, I'm looking at it, and then they're getting deeper and deeper in, and then my partner ended up going in.
And still just like a single man opening to be able to walk through this pathway through the one person.
One person at a time. So
Wow. Okay.
so he's going in, so my partner goes in, he grabs a line and he goes in. I'm like, oh shit. So I'm gonna go behind him. You know, I wasn't expecting him to go in.
Sure. Yeah.
And so he goes in, and so I'm expecting him to be in front of me. I get in deeper, and the sound from being outside, you got rotary saws going, you got chainsaws going, you got radios, you got the rigs, you got all kinds of stuff going on outside. The minute I stepped pretty much 2 to 3 feet in, silent, like it was like its own atmosphere.
Ooh, man.
So I walk in,
Eerie.
and you can just just this weird, this weird feeling. So I walk in, I go deeper, and then I hear Norton, or I hear somebody yelling at me. I can't see shit. I can't feel shit. And I'm like, this sounds like Norton. I was like, that shouldn't be Norton. So it's one single file in. I'm like, it should have been my partner for the day, right? Well, how did this guy get here? So there was a step ladder in the middle of that single file line, and Norton was up top, seeing if there was a mezzanine. He was trying to see what was up there, and in that meantime, my partner went around that ladder. So when he came down, I was confused, like, who?
Yeah.
You know, who is this?
Yeah. It's pitch black.
It's pitch black.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
see your hand in front of in front of your face.
And a lot of times that will happen too. You know, a lot of these buildings, they'll build a little like office space mezzanine above the entrances to this place. So sometimes you'll get fires that start for whatever electrical reason or something like that in the office. Office gets going, you got fire, heavy smoke showing, and you walk in the front door on the bottom, there's fucking nothing there.
Yeah.
No smoke or nothing. So, you know, was that on your mind too as you're going in?
Yeah,
Because that can be a dangerous situation too. You get a fire going in the mezzanine, nothing. You got guys below, that thing can collapse on you. You
Trap
got
you
fire
in
fall
there,
down
yeah.
behind you, you know, and trap you in there.
Yeah. So yeah, Norton came down and he's yelling, I can't hear shit, or I can't see shit, I can't feel shit. And I'm like, okay. And we kind of like paused real quick, and we were listening, because we heard this rumbling. And at first, I'm like, okay, it's got to be the guys walking on the roof,
Yeah.
you know, because that's what it sounds like sometimes. And it got louder and it got louder. And we both kind of like looked at each other, and you can hear him in the video. He goes, what is that? And I'm like, I don't know. And then fucking it got just the sound of like a freight train coming, just this rumbling sound. I thought the building was going to collapse.
And you're all the way in.
We're like 15, 20 feet in.
Okay.
And mind you, I was the last one in, so I'm going to be the first one out.
Right.
So I'm at the end of that single file line. So Norton goes, what the fuck is that? And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, my eyes just wide open, like,
Yeah.
oh shit, something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
I turn around, and that whole like 10-foot door that we just cut, that's completely open, middle of the day, sunshine, everything, completely black. I was like, damn,
Holy shit.
where the fuck am I? I was lost, and I literally went straight in. That's how mind fucked it was.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh,
I'm just gonna run straight, and I turn around, and Norton's like, go, 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 and pushes me, and I'm like, I'm at the fucking end of this line. I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So I run out, and you can just feel the heat. I felt like he pushed me the whole time, but it was just the smoke.
heat.
It was the heat, the smoke, and just
pressure.
everything was just ready to blow out. And right when I ran out, it just right behind me. I looked back, and as I looked back, it was just fire all behind me. So what happened was Norton went left, and I went right. So I'm looking back. I'm like, where's everybody
You didn't
at?
see anyone, yeah.
Nobody's coming out. And I'm like, no way. This is
Including your partner that had a line and went in before you.
yeah, and including 6 other people that were in there deeper than I
Yeah, 'cause
was.
the
You
engine
know?
was in there.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
engine 209, engine 9's in there. And so I'm like, where the fuck's everybody? Nobody's coming out. I'm like, there's no way this is happening right now. There's no way I'm witnessing this
Yeah,
go
it's
down.
like a surreal
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're in a movie.
So I run back to the center of it to see like if there's anybody around, and nobody's around. And so I grab the line, and I'm trying to follow the line back in. I go to pick up the line, and I'm like looking down, and just this fireball just blasted me in the face. And I'm like, I just felt like I was melting. So I'm like looking around to see where everybody's at, and everybody that was there, like the engineers, they're just gone. Not because of what was going on, like, oh, fuck that. It was because it was so hot, and they didn't have their face piece on. They're outside. They're not expecting to have their shit on.
Yeah.
So I look around like, where the fuck's everybody at? I'm trying to go back in. It's way too hot. And then I see Captain Salas, peeking around the engine, putting out the mayday. I'm like, Cap, they're in there. And I just remember from my gloves, they felt like they melted on my hands. So
Oh, man.
These are your structure gloves.
structure gloves, yeah.
Shit.
So I pulled them off, and I just remember looking back at this thing, just like this fucking fireball, just
Still blowing.
still blowing. I'm like, when the
Could
fuck?
you see the guys on the ladder at that point, or was it just fire?
I was focused just on that
On the
hole
door.
because I'm
Yeah.
like, dude,
Television,
somebody's
dude.
got to be,
Yeah.
somebody's got to come out, and they're gonna be
shit.
fucking melted. So I'm sitting there, just like, please come out. Like, there's no way this is. And right away, I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm going to fucking 8 funeral, 8 caskets. There's no, what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no way I'm gonna fucking
Oh my God,
witness
man.
that. I'm the only one that came out. So I'm like looking at everybody, and the minute I realized it was real was truck 3 pulled up in front of engine 9 where they spotted, and they threw their ladder to their aerial to the truck or to the roof, and yeah. So
that's right inside the front door.
right there, yeah.
Yeah, you got volume on that thing?
Yeah, I don't know if you could. So right there, you can hear like if you go back for a minute,
Can we take it back?
you can hear the.
You can hear the rumble.
That's the rumble, yeah.
That's the
you can
rumble.
hear it.
And dude, you feel that vibration. You feel it through your
So
whole
starting
fucking
back,
body.
you hear all the
Shit, that's scary,
you see
dude.
how loud it is right now. Chainsaws. Wait till I walk in. You can hear it completely silent. Can't hear anything.
Whoa.
3 feet, right? That's Norton.
Can't see shit.
He-
Oh man.
Are
So,
you running out now?
Right now, I'm trying to go back in. I'm screaming, no, no, no! Like, there's no way this is fucking happening. Yeah.
And no lines, no
And
nozzles or
yeah,
anything
nothing.
around.
Everybody had a split. Fucking.
Still blowing. Holy shit.
Yeah, that fire blew for like I think when they counted it, it was like 32, 33 seconds, dude.
Jesus.
Straight
Jesus Christ,
fucking
man.
fire coming out of that thing.
God damn.
Yeah. So when I came out, I saw truck 3 throwing their aerial to the roof, and then that's when I kind of realized it was real. I thought I was like dreaming or something, and I see them retracting their aerial, taking it off the roof, and pretty much bedding it because it's like there's no use for it.
Yeah.
And then I see the members on assigned to threes, and they just have their hands on their head like, what is going on? And that's what I was like, no way. And I just broke down right there, and I'm sitting there and just looking at this hole blowing fire out, just like, dude, what is going on?
But you're also burned.
I'm not burnt. I'm not burnt at this time. My hands felt like they were burnt, and I'm looking at this hole like, dude, somebody's gotta be crawling out, right?
Oh my god!
And I see one guy, just this little crispy critter, just inching his way. He had no idea where he was at. He was just moving, just to keep moving, right? And I run up, and by that time my gloves were already off because I took them off because I thought they were melted on my hands.
Yeah.
So I run up, and I grab the guy, and I'm looking around. I'm like, where the fuck's everybody at? Yeah. And you can hear Captain Sal's, get your fucking asses over there, everybody now, like Alpha side. So I grab a guy, pull him out, and just from grabbing him, that's when my hands got burnt. From how hot he was, from his class, from anything that was metal just kind of burnt my fingertips. So I pull him out, and I don't know who it is at this time because they're just all black. So I pull him out, and I'm like, I take their helmet off, take their mask off, and it was Joe Greasergan. He just got into nines, call him Skid Row Joe. I'll never forget the look on his face. His eyes were closed, and he just opened his eyes like, I'm alive.
Fuck.
Yeah. And the way and I'm like slapping him, like, who else is in there? Who's left? And he was speechless. He didn't say a word. And that's when I looked back, and then another person came.
Holy shit,
and by that time, everybody came in, started pulling them out. I'm like, all right, we got enough hands here. I'm going to go grab the fucking rescue. So I dropped all my shit, ran across San Pedro, all the way down across San Pedro, jumped in my rescue, pulled it around. By that time, they're literally carrying one of our guys, throw him on the ambulance. I get him in the back, and he's screaming. He's just like, fuck, this hurts. Just yelling. They're ripping all of his shit off. Yeah. I'm like, hey, go. You know, and Cap's like, do you need a driver? I'm like, yeah, well, like, take us to the hospital. So I get in the back, and my buddy's just yelling, just like, dude, put me out. Yeah. And so on the rescue, we have 2 meds. We got one for pain management, and we got one for putting people out, like completely like sedating them. And I'm like, I don't know whether to put this dude out or to give him some pain meds. Yeah. So I'm like, bro, he's like yelling.
You can't put him out.
Yeah. He's like yelling. He's like, dude, please, like it fucking hurts. I'm like, bro, my hands are burnt. I can't feel anything. Like my hands are like bleeding. And he's like, please.
You're the only medic back there?
That's it, just me. Yeah.
Shit.
So he's like, please. So I was like, fuck it, dude. I can't watch this guy in pain. So I start an IV. Fucking, I don't even know how much fentanyl I drew up. Just slammed it. I'm like, sorry, bro. I don't know how much I gave you, but you're gonna be feeling good. And then get him there, throw him on the ER bed, and I remember he just was like, hey, dude, you know, call my mom. And then probably like 5-10 minutes later, he's intubated, and then they threw me on the ER bed, and that was the end of it.
Probably still thinking he could die at that point too, you know?
Yeah, and when you get there, you know, all the chiefs were there.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there and they're doing their chiefs thing, and you know, you hear, hey, who's non-critical, who's critical, and who's dead. And you're like, what? What do you mean dead? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, and for me, you know, I only saw 3 guys come out until I was like, fuck this, I'm grabbing the ambulance. Like, there's enough people here, they can handle this shit. Like, I'm gonna grab the ambulance, we're gonna go. So I had no idea who was left. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, I gotta go back.
You had the one guy?
Yeah, I just had Nick Estrada,
But there were
let's get back to
guys, right?
let's get back to Ryan. Take us back through. Now we've gone through and seen and talked about what happened at the door there. Take us back on the roof. You guys are up there cutting a hole now. You cut a hole.
Yeah.
If you can, man, take your time. Like I said.
Yeah. So we sound out, and I have my fucking safety glasses on, and the guys kind of always make fun of me because I call them bug glasses. They're like for welding and shit to keep your
They got the side.
They have the side mesh to keep shit from going into your eyes. And so we're going and sounding, and like I said, the AO starts cutting. As he's cutting, I'm throwing my shit right. My fucking helmet almost flies off like into the hole.
Oh,
and like I literally like fucking catch it like. So like I go throw my shit on, and like I go to put it on, and it fucking like comes straight off, and I'm like bobbling it. I fucking catch it, put it back on, strap my shit on, and then my fucking safety glasses like fell on the roof, you know. And so Soriano kind of backs up, and I just remember him like going and like picking my glasses up. And then just like, whose fucking glasses are these?
Still joking around.
Yeah,
you know, in the
I'm
middle
like
of fire,
laughing.
yeah.
You know, I'm laughing. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, those are mine. You know, like we punch it, and he's like, hey, you know, he initially didn't have his gloves on to cut. Right, he had his face piece on.
Yeah.
He goes, hey, I'm gonna hand the saw off. He gives the saw to Staley. We back up about 10 feet, and he throws his turnout gloves on. Right.
Yeah.
So at this point, the AO now has his turnout gloves.
You guys have a whole cut at that point.
Yeah, we have our first hole cut, and
What does smoke look
it's
like? Was it?
no smoke,
Oh, really?
no smoke, no fire. It looked like the back of a turbojet. Like the best way I can put it was like where it's just like straight heat and pressure, and
Just
it
that
looks like
distorted
that-
look.
Yeah, that, like,
yeah, just
where you
coming
just
out.
like you try to look and it
Exhaust,
just look
basically.
like hot
The
exhaust,
invisible
right?
flame,
yeah,
man.
wavy air.
But you
yeah.
can
That's that
hear it.
Talladega Night shit.
You can hear it,
shit,
and
dude.
it's fucking roaring like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like.
Just hoping nobody's
You're like,
under
what
there.
the fuck?
Yeah.
You like,
When
you know,
that-
and at first, like, so we cut, right? We're saying, like, hey, we're not getting any fire, no smoke, just heavy pressure coming out of this thing. And then you start hearing, like, little pops here, like almost like popcorn, right? I don't want to say, like, bullets because I've heard bullets and they sound different, but it was like,
Was the smell different?
I
Or
had my
could you
face
even
piece
know-
on,
yeah,
so
okay,
I
gotcha,
couldn't
gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
quite smell it, you know,
Mhm.
but it was like a,
Oh, wow.
like
shit.
super sporadic, right?
Yeah.
Like not
But
like
enough to be like, what the fuck?
yeah,
is
so
that?
you're like,
Yeah.
fuck is popping, you know? So you're like,
Yeah.
all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and then you hear the roar, back up. The AO puts his gloves on, gives the saw to Staley and Frazier are top and tiller, right? So Staley cuts, we punch and pull it, and at this point, we're starting to get good fire out of it, right? We're maybe getting, I'd say, 10-foot flame lengths out of our hole,
Yeah.
our first and second hole.
Which is a good hole, right? That's
yeah,
what you want to see
I
coming
would,
out of
I'd
coming out
say
of your
it was
hole, man.
probably maybe 4 or 5 feet wide and by 3 feet, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid heat hole.
Yeah, so I look over at my partner. He's still back at the parapet wall, right? So the front of the building with the aerial. He's got the drop bag. He finally has the line up, right? So we cut that second hole. I run back to him. I grab the nozzle. And by the time I ran back up to the hole, I put the hose down, right? I step on it. That way I can grab my tool, start getting to work. I tell him, charge it, right? He charges the line. I look down, literally like a split second. I look down. I go pick the line up. I turn back in front of me, and like the whole fucking roof is like on fire right now.
Oh,
I got
man.
fire coming out of all 3 AC units. I got the
Like that,
the
huh?
Delta side wall is like
Damn.
right that 40-foot.
Did you hear the rumble and everything too?
Yeah, it got louder,
Yeah.
but like it was like quick from like, okay, 10 feet fire coming out to like everything in front of me is like on fire, you know?
Yeah.
The fucking Delta side wall is like the paint's delaminating off of it, right? You got these little, it looks like like a
Bubbling
fucking
up.
melting.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like a bonfire, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like you see like little pieces of ember coming up. It was
Yeah.
like that, but like fucking everything, dude. And I charged the line, and I'm just like, okay, fucking
Trying to knock
let
everything
me
down.
just cool as much as I can, you know? So I'm doing this shit, and then I just hear someone say, get the fuck off the roof. And at first I thought it was the AO. I thought it was Soriano who said that. And later on realizing it was our captain, Victor Geary, that was saying it. And I'm like trying to walk backwards. I'm trying to, you know, cool as much as I can. I'm like hitting the wall. And then Soriano finally looks at me and goes, dude, drop the fucking line and let's go.
Yeah.
And I've been in some, you know, pretty hairy situations in the military and stuff like that, deployed to Iraq. But that shit was like, I felt it in my fucking bones. Like I felt the vibration.
The urgency in his
Yeah.
voice, or all that together,
of everything
together,
like
yeah.
combined, like the
Just your
heat,
spidey
Yeah.
sense.
the heat coming off the building, the sound, the rumble, the
Yeah.
fucking vibration going through my body. The walls looked like they were fucking shaking. And then just the urgency of like, all right, dude, like we gotta fucking get off this thing. So Staley, me, and my partner Kativo, we get to the aerial, and Staley jumps on the aerial. I kind of side rail it. I'm like, you can see
So
the
you're
the
backing
handrail.
down.
Yeah. So when initially the aerial is like maybe 4 feet off that building, and the first guy gets on the aerial, I jump
Start
onto
it
the
over. Take it
I
back.
jump onto the rail and kind of like straddle it, and I'm like, you know, fucking
take it back
when
a
you're a
little
kid,
bit.
you like slide down shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like sliding down the rail, and I get in
The
front
side
of
rail
yeah,
of the stick?
the side rail,
Oh, okay.
and I finally get in front of him,
He tells
and
him
he turns around and he tells me turn around. You can see him
You
like
see it
kind of
right here.
motion,
Right.
and
yeah, he kinda
I
tells
just
him
start
there, turns and
fucking
books it.
trying to
Oh,
run down,
yeah.
dude. I'm like running on this fucking aerial trying to get to the bottom.
Damn.
And I get to the bottom, and I realize at this point, I'm like, right here, I'm like, dude, these guys aren't going.
Oh my god.
They're not making it, you know. I watch
Jesus.
I watch Fraser's fucking leg go right between the rungs. He kind of sinks in. Soriano trips over him, and then the blast just kind of pushes Victor Aguirre on top of all three of those guys. And the whole time, dude, I'm like yelling at the top of my lungs. I'm looking under the aerial. All the fucking hose lines are busting, popping, you know, 2.5, 4-inch hose,
Yeah.
big yellow fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's
the
just
heat.
bursting, dude.
Yeah.
Like boom, boom.
And everyone's running
And
for their
nobody's
lives.
fucking
Yeah.
there, dude. Like everybody's got. I thought it was like a ghost town. I didn't realize what the engine company was doing. I was just like, you know, I had so like I don't want to say tunnel vision, but like I had like that feeling of like where the fuck is everybody at, dude? Like how are we the only fucking guys
Yeah.
right here? You know, like where the fuck is everybody? Like where's you know? And you start
Same
wishing
thing
like
he was thinking.
yeah, you start wishing like somebody please just get a fucking line and hit these guys with the water, you know?
Yeah.
Turn it
There's
off.
there aren't
And,
any. Yeah.
And so I run to the bucket, the tiller bucket, so the back of the truck, and I'm like fucking yelling. I just see guys like running, and finally, you know, somebody has a line, and by the time I get back to the aerial, they had already thrown Kenny Fraser off the pedestal, which is like a 5-foot drop down to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
They talking to Kenny after, you know, he goes, I fucking hit the sidewalk, and I got up so disorientated that I fucking like ran into one of those parking meters.
Oh,
He said he ran into the parking meter,
Some
fell
cartoon
down,
shit.
and then just like fucking took off.
And then there was a
running, right?
rake right there. I stepped
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that shit.
Such a mob.
And fucking all the tents on the other side of that truck, like where the guys were coming off, all those tents were on fire.
Oh, my
We got
God.
fucking homeless people right there yelling, "My tent's on fire!" We got fucking,
Yeah.
you know, we throw Soriano off and like barely catch him before he hits the ground. So now he's like kind of dangling, and the whole time, dude, I'm looking at Captain Aguirre, just like the fucking Terminator is what I describe it, dude. Like literally came down the aerial on fire, and just looked like it wasn't even fucking on him. Like just walked down. Got to the
Fucking
bottom of the
crazy.
pedestal, and I remember he just had his hands in front of him, and his hands were just fucking white, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
They look like they
Right.
were just a glove.
yeah,
He's wearing a glove of a hand.
and
But even that, he handles it like a legend.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
dude,
Sounds
like,
right?
and this is like,
Crazy.
and I tell everybody, you know, the things that I look for being a military guy, right? Camaraderie is one, but
Yeah.
I also look for a leader that's gonna be there to the end, you know.
Yeah.
And on that day, dude, like I can't describe a better leader than Aguirre.
Yeah.
Like he literally walked down the pedestal or walked down the aerial on fire and still had the wits to be like, hey, I have to go back up there because my guys are still up there. And I'm like arguing with them. I'm fucking trying to fight them to get down. I'm like, Cap, we're it. Like everybody's fucking down. You're the last one off. Like we gotta go, you know? And this whole time he makes fun of me every time he sees me because I have my fucking face piece with my Voss on, and it's like, and he's like, what the fuck are you saying, you know? And I'm like trying to yell at him, like, come on, let's go. And finally get him all the way down. I start walking him to the ambulance, and he's just like holding his hands, you know? And I get to the ambulance, and Kenny Fraser's there. He's got his jacket off, and his whole arm is just fucking white.
Damn.
Just degloved, you know, like
Yeah.
look like
yeah.
fucking salami
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
off of it, you
Fourth
know?
degree.
I see the rest of the guys in the back of the ambulance, and I'm like, you know, there's 4 cops at the back of the ambulance, and they're just looking at me and looking at Aguirre like just
Fucking A,
okay.
yeah.
bug-eyed, you know,
Yeah.
like what the fuck is going on? And I'm looking at them, and I'm like yelling, like, fucking help me, like grab some scissors, do something. Don't just fucking stand there like a statue, you know?
Yeah.
And so we have our wristlets, right, for our turnout coats. We put those on so that no debris comes between our gloves and our
Yeah.
skin. He had his wristlets on with his work shirt, and I think that's what a lot of that's
Victor.
what
Yeah.
is what saved his upper hand and like wrist from getting burned.
Yeah.
But I remember like, and it's just like heat of the moment, right? So like I go to like pull it off of him, and he's just like, ow, like, hey, that fucking hurts. And I do, like, it hurt my heart so much because it was
Yeah.
like, this guy's in pain,
Yeah.
and I just caused him additional pain, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, dude, like, I felt heartbroken. And I finally look at the cop, and they give me a pair of scissors, and I just start fucking cutting his jacket up all the way, you know? Finally get it off him, put him in the ambulance, and then those guys take off. I ran back to, like, the front of the address, and by that time, a lot of these guys were getting the guys out already. But I helped get Osterberg off, or put him on the gurney, and then trying to muscle him with the gurney over, like, 4 inches.
This is all into the 8 ball?
This is, like, still getting everybody out of the front.
Yeah, that's
of
what I
the-
want to get
the-
into, because
the
now it's
address.
the whole logistical thing, because now you've got, like, what,
Oh,
8 or
dude,
9 guys,
it's
and
so-
you got to get them out of there.
Count for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you listen to the radio traffic, right, you hear the mayday from the engine coming out. You don't hear anything from the truck. Like, and, you know, till this day, I feel like maybe I should have got over the radio and said, hey, you know, we're accounted for. But I was just, you're always taught, like, hey, if you're not, you know, in that position, just stay off the radio,
Yeah.
let the pertinent traffic
Especially
come
something like that, where it's, you know, that's where all the big wigs are now on the thing.
Oh,
you know?
for sure.
through. But, you know, like, I knew personally, like, okay, the truck's accounted for, everybody's off, everybody's in a gurney. Like, I witnessed, like, okay, you know, Soriano, Frazier, Staley, Moore, and Aguirre are all in one ambulance, right? And me and Kativo are still back.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I have accountability for these guys, right? So let me go and find one of the captains to tell him, like, hey, this is where we're at, right? So I find Salas, and I'm trying to give him, like, a rundown. You know, everybody's fucking adrenaline's pumping.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, Cap, truck's accounted for, 809's accounted for. We got this many guys going to county. In this rescue, I'm not 100% sure on the engine guys. Like, I know we pulled Estrada and Giesregen out in Osterberg, but I don't know about Barkley or any of the other guys at that time. I didn't even know about this guy until fucking, like, 30 minutes after the incident, where I was like, who's at the hospital? Like, I didn't know his injuries, and it sucks for me because, right, he's at the hospital. The whole incident fucking goes down. There's 11 guys that get transported to the hospital.
Yeah.
There's, like, 7 of us that stay back at the scene, and, you know, the chiefs and everybody's like, hey, you know, we'll get you guys to the hospital. And, you know, I felt like it was a fucking hour before we even got to the hospital. We're all just sitting out there on the sidewalk. They're not letting us do shit. They're like, hey, stand by the battalion rig and don't move, like, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just like fucking
my
torture,
buddies
because
are-
you're like,
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
you're like, where's my fucking
And
brother
then
at?
no
You know,
one's
like,
telling you anything.
Yeah.
and you're not getting any information, dude.
Yeah.
And you know, we finally get to the hospital, and we're all in our fucking turnouts, and, you know, we see the guys on the rescues, and we're trying to do face to face, like, hey, you know, who's in here? Like, what's the injury?
Yeah.
And the whole time they're like, we don't know, dude. Like, you know, we know these guys went in, but we don't know their injuries. We don't know their condition.
All our
So we're
stuff's lined up.
Yeah,
outside.
all
It looks-
all the
just
fucking shit's just a
in
big
row.
pile of burn
Yeah, to collect it for
turnouts, you know.
evidence and whatnot. Yeah.
And you know, the whole time, you know, you have all these chiefs and all these other people coming in. They're like trying to talk to you. And like I said, man, we always look for, like, the leader that's gonna put the guys first, right?
Yeah.
That day, right, we had Victor Aguirre, but Ray Robles is the assigned captain. He ends up, right, he's on military leave. He fucking, like, boogies down to the hospital,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And he's like our guy, right? He's fucking badass, dude.
Yeah.
Gets down there and, like, tries to comfort us, like, hey, you know, I'm sorry I wasn't here with you guys. And we have these fucking chiefs coming, like, hey, everything's gonna be all right, like, trying to plug shit in our ear.
Yeah.
And he's just like, hey, dude, like, fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
this is our guys. They need to know what's going on. Like, don't fucking
Yeah.
keep them outside the loop. Like,
Yeah.
these are their brothers in there, you know? And what kind of pissed me off a little bit, right, we're all in our turnouts, and we all have, like, our fucking uniform under them, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, you guys can't go into the hospital. Like, we're going to have a little meeting, but you guys have to go back to the station. You have to go shower, change, get all your shit. Like,
The
you can't
fuck?
come in
They don't want
with
you to be
dirty
dirty
shit,
on
right?
the news.
They're like, you can't come in with, you know,
This is the hospital saying this, or
this
our
is
guys?
mix,
Yeah,
mix,
jeez.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, you guys can't come in. Like, just go back to the hospital. And all of us were like, hey, we want to stay here. Like, I'll fucking go in my PJs, dude. I'll be in my gym shorts and a fucking a t-shirt.
Yeah,
Like, I just
exactly.
want to make sure that everything's good, you
Yeah.
know? So we go back to the station. We all fucking clean up. We come back, and they're like, hey, you guys missed the briefing, the update on the members. This is what's going on. And I just remember, like,
Fuck,
remember, like,
Yeah.
watching and
Right.
looking, and, like, there's fucking chiefs in there with their turnout pants and not, right.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
clean, but I'm
exactly.
like, you know what? Like,
still, dude.
fuck
yeah.
you, dude. Like,
yeah, dude.
you fucking slap me in the face right now telling me I can't go see my brother fucking get
Yeah.
news on my brother, and I have to go back to the station and fucking come back and tell me that I'm getting briefed by some guy that I don't fucking know to tell
Yeah.
me what's going on. Like, dude. So after that, it put a bad taste in my mouth with some of the leadership. But like I said, right, the Nines leadership was always there for us, like through thick and thin, right? With
Yeah.
Victor, with Ray.
Yeah.
The following, couple of days, old alumni nines coming back to the station, cooking dinner for us, cooking lunch for us. It was all Nines guys, right?
Yeah.
And then other stations coming here and there supporting for us and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I've even in the military, I've never been a fan of brass, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
at least not gold brass,
Yeah.
But
It all
Come
it
up a
all,
lot on this show. Don't worry.
it all comes down to the fire family too, man. And like when
Yeah.
something like that happens, that's when you really get a sense of like what it means to be a part of that thing that they call the fire family.
Yeah.
You get people to band together with fundraisers, GoFundMe's for all the guys. And Victor had that massive GoFundMe that guys and gals in the fire service from all around the country, donated to. And it's in those moments where you sit back, days after, a week afterwards, and you look at what everybody's doing after a situation like this, that you go, "Oh fuck, man, that's what I'm a part of." Like this is all pretty cool, And in 18 years on the job, I've seen a handful of people die on the job, and every single time it's that kind of warm blanket that the fire community puts around family.
yeah.
Kelly Wong and. There's a list of people that have passed away on this job. I want to take a moment just to talk about Victor, because I did approach him to come on. Obviously, this situation, I mean, it's a year later when finally getting you guys on. You don't want to be pushy with something like this. You know what I mean? Larry Solis, Captain Solis, is a classmate, good friend. I love the guy to death. Ian, I've known for years. Victor was an instructor in our drill tower. And was a firefighter in AO9s. And I just want to tell you, you talked about Victor a little bit. I want to talk about my experience with him, because you're a different generation of firefighter than I was, or than I am. But Victor was one of those guys, even in the drill tower. He always had this way of teaching and kind of making us feel like he was that authority figure, but he was always, I could always see that glimmer of like, "Hey homie, I'm trying to help you out here.
Yeah.
Hey homie, pay attention when I'm teaching you here, because I may be joking around and fucking and acting like this is some serious shit. You really got it." And then you talk to him about how he came up, and his whole story of where he grew up, the neighborhood he grew up in, the family that he had that were, involved in different things that they shouldn't have been, the way he could have taken that path as well, but then found, LA County Explorer program and all that shit, and really became, man, if I had to pick an all-star team of firefighters that I've run into over my 18 years, probably would be the captain of that team. And you talk about even the time that I was there as a rookie, my Captain 2, who's retired now, is retired as a battalion chief, but or assistant chief. Pat Hayden was my deuce over there. You hear him talk about Victor because he was his captain when he was a rookie there, and he's like, dude was driving the truck as a third house rookie. I mean, that's what kind of like solid firefighter rookie and shit like that he was. So, you talk about him and this incident and the way he was after getting so severely injured and shit like that. It's just a testament to what kind of guy Victor is. What kind of leader he is in the story that you're telling. And for all those younger guys that are coming up, when you meet these guys and you're coming up and just like you're a different generation from me, all these guys are coming up are a different generation from you, raised differently, just a completely different way of looking at the world and looking at the fire department as a whole. It's little bit softer now these days, I think, coming up. But when you meet somebody like that who's hard on you, who's been to some fucking fires, who's been in situations like this, who's rough around the edges, those are the kind of guys you want to attach yourself to and learn and squeeze every bit of knowledge out of that you can
before they go. Yeah.
Before they go,
retire,
before they retire, before they become, chiefs themselves and get out of the field. And then conversations with them are a little bit different. When you're out there and you're drilling and you're new on the job, seek out those busy spots, because those are the spots where the guys like Victor, the Victor Aguirres of this world dwell, because they love it. And so don't be afraid of that shit.
Yeah.
Especially when you're young on the job and your body still agrees with you, and you don't fucking, you don't have to take 5 ibuprofens after you drill and shit like that, right?
Yep.
Seek those things out. Be uncomfortable. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations, because learning from those guys who have been there, who have been in those situations, who give you the knowledge that they have from incidents like this that are career-defining incidents, or little smaller ones throughout the years where they picked up this and that. That information that you soak up from those people could save your life one day.
Yep.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like I talked about earlier. It's little things that it's just snapshots that you put in the back of your head, and every time you go to a fire, like you're checking all these little things that are you're checking off your checklist of snapshots for that fire. That's it. Okay, fucking. When I cut this hole, this is fuck. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Fuck, that was at this incident. It's all.
Yeah.
So when you go and you get older and you're dealing with these older people, that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with that just Rolodex of information from all of the incidents that they've had over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You got to soak that up, man, because that is with all the fire prevention that's going on nowadays, with all the regulations on stuff and everything, it's a lot safer. We're seeing a lot less structure fires, so that when somebody or a company or a business does have something set up illegally like this, that's kind of a surprise to everybody. It is a surprise to everybody because they haven't been to calls like this. They haven't been to a commercial building that's pack rat with it has hazardous materials and shit like that, because all that stuff is trying to be regulated now.
Yeah.
So just that's it, man. Be open to those difficult and uncomfortable situations. Just in general, man, uncomfortableness and stress makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. Because it's in these situations where your experience and the Rolodex of knowledge that you've developed over the years could potentially save your life.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got to wrap it up here.
I want to talk about just briefly, how are you guys doing after this? A year later, I know I've been in situations that were scary, how are you guys handling the aftermath of it all?
Pretty good. I mean, I try to go back to work the next day, but with the burns and everything, they have to put you off.
Sure, yeah. Especially with burns.
Yeah, and I mean, right after stuff like that, you got a bunch of phone calls. It's all over the news. You got chiefs call. I mean, even the mayor called us. It's crazy. So it's a little overwhelming. And then finally, when the dust settles, you can kind of, get a grip of what's really going on and just chill. But this guy left, so I was on the B shift at Nines with a bunch of my close friends, and like he said, they left for internal reasons with the front office and stuff like that. So these guys left, and I wanted to stick it out, until like our captain, who was going to retire, Captain Lopez, he was there for probably, for the longest anyone's ever been there.
19 years at Nines.
And how many years at 33s before that?
Yeah. Busy places. So I wanted to stick it out, but this guy went to a good station. I went to a good station, so it's just getting back into the swing of things and getting back out there.
And that's usually how it goes too, with tight crews like that too. It's usually everyone's hanging out until one guy breaks that seal.
Yeah. And the sad thing is they break that seal just for the time minimum they can serve there, and then they're out.
Yeah.
And you blow up a shift, and then you just leave.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
the nerve.
Well, like I said, man, for us, for me, my reasons of leaving was that leadership, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you got it, man. You got to have strong, especially in a place like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The guys, I never had any malice amongst anybody there. I love those guys, dude.
Yeah.
I still work there, and it's funny because like at twos, right, we don't have an 800, and we always getting detailed to fours. And the other day I told the EIT, right, who's in charge of all the hiring, I was like, hey, just skip fours and just send me to nines. I'd rather work at nines and at least if it's a shitty day, like hey, I'm cool with that. At least I'll still
Because you got the guys, yeah.
still
me
have my
too.
guys with
Yeah.
me.
I'd rather work at 9s than 4s
Yeah.
too.
And it's crazy because there's people their whole career they will refuse to
they're
work
scared
at
to
night.
work at
Yeah.
nines, man.
Yeah.
They're like, no, it's too
same thing,
busy.
yeah.
And like, dude, the amount of knowledge you're gonna learn in one day
Yeah.
at nines,
Yeah.
And
It's
fun,
fucking
and fun you're gonna
incredible,
have,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun day to work there. I work there every once in a
Yeah.
while. I worked. That's how I met Alex. We
Yeah.
worked a day over there together. I work there because it's fun for like I don't know,
A
20
day.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
until
what the
midnight.
fuck? Yeah, what
Yeah,
the fuck
until
am I
you-
doing
until
here?
you're
up at
These
night and you're like,
144 is
man,
like this guy.
And then I'm
shit.
just
Yeah.
like, this is why I don't work here anymore. That's I remember now.
Yep.
All right.
But you go and it's fun, man. It's a fun young environment there to be in.
Yeah.
Hey boys, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. I know it's a difficult thing to talk about. Like I said, Larry's a classmate. And I know Ian real well. And I've kind of been just feeling it out with them because I was hoping to get the 4 of you in here together.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult thing to talk about. It's a difficult thing to revisit. And I understand all that, man. And obviously the door is open to them. It'd be cool if any of them decide to come back. If you guys come back just to be a part of it.
Your guys'
I
perspective
gotta-
though was awesome.
That was awesome, man.
I got
that was real.
If I can, man, something we don't really touch on as a department, and in the military, I've had my near misses and stuff like that,
Sure.
and it really hits different when at like a certain age, right? Like I was in the military from 17 to 21, and like my near miss in the military opened my eyes up to be like, okay, what's life about? Like, am I really living my life the way I want to?
Yeah, buddy.
And and I look back at that and I'm like, all right, I learned a lot of shit, but I was like, I don't want to say I was reckless with my life, but like I definitely wasn't afraid to die after that. Like I was like, okay, let me push the envelope a little bit further, live a little bit faster, and really get to see where I'm at. But now that I'm 30 years old, this thing happened when I was 29, and now I'm in that new chapter, right? I just got married, bought a house, settling down. I used to work a shit ton at nines. Now I'm like, hey, I don't really need the money. Like I'd rather just spend it with my family. So I think there's different aspects of like where you're at in life, and when you have a near miss or you run into something like this, you really just need to take that time and figure out, okay, where am I at in my life that's gonna put me on the next page to do right. Okay, for the younger guys out there and girls, don't be afraid to reach out. Like PTSD is real. In the military, you have 22 veterans die of suicide a day, right? In the fire service, I don't know the exact number, but
it's up there.
if you go through it, hey, reach out. There's somebody out there that's been in the same shoes or been in the same scenario, and who you have to your left and right is what's really going to get you through things like this. For me and Alex, I went through the therapy to like, hey, just talk about it, right? Try to share my experience with the guys that went through that the second time.
Right.
And it's not frowned upon, man. It's just, we train to get our bodies right, but you also have to train to get your mind right.
Absolutely.
You can't go into this, thinking like, hey, this is I'm in it for the money or I'm in it for this reason. It's like, hey, you have to be in this 100% mentally and physically. And that's for me. I'm in a good spot in my life right now where I don't really need to work a whole lot. I appreciate my family more, my friends more.
Yeah.
And I still know, okay, at the end of the day, like it's a job, right? I need to go home to my family. I need to be here to support them. I don't want to have children and then them go, 20, 30 years or whatever without me. So,
And that's something that we've talked about in the past too, man. We talk about breaking up a shift like that. But you got to do what's right for you and your situation and your family.
Mm-hmm.
If you're at a spot where, just like we said, the crew's all staying together because Cap Lopez is retiring in a couple months and everything, but you yourself are in a spot where you're home, your time at home is busy, you want to spend more time with your family, being here just isn't healthy for me anymore, whatever. You got to make those decisions that are right for you and your family. And I've said that in the past.
Oh yeah.
Everyone has an opinion on how you should run your career.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck them all, man.
Yeah.
Because everybody's different, everybody's situation's different, and you got to do what's right for you and your family, and ultimately your happiness.
Everything you said there is like a
100%.
perfect bow on like what we do the podcast for, basically, man. Like it really is. Like we don't package it that way, but it's to help people that have been through things and with stress.
Yeah.
Because we have all these stories, people survived unimaginable situations, and you see life goes on, you move on, you learn from it, things happen. So when other people have to go through things like that, they can see, hey, and get a little bit of inspiration from this maybe. And it's cool, man. So we appreciate you guys doing it. And it should also be said that nobody died
Yeah.
Yeah.
in this incident. Everybody survived. When you see those videos, everybody lived.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me, and I think I can speak for Alex too, is the what's that shit called? It's like guilty remorse or
Survivor's remorse. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
why me? Why was I the first one down the area? Why did I decide to go down the rail and bump past these guys? Why, what could I have done? And in a situation like that, you go what if it all day, dude. But at the end of the day, everybody lived, and that's the best outcome that we had that day for that shift. And I wouldn't want it any other way. I wouldn't want anybody else to be there that day.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to be in those shoes that I wore that day. You know.
And you guys help those guys live, help those guys survive. All right. Great having you guys. We do have to wrap it up.
Yeah,
man.
thank you
This
so
was-
much for coming on.
Thank you.
Do you guys
Awesome
want to
episode.
give out your Instagrams, or do you have anything you want to?
Plug or promote.
Tag us, I guess.
No, man, I got no social media. Mama don't let me have it anymore.
Smart, very smart. Bro. You can have one of mine if you ever want one. I got like 5 or 6.
New chapter in life, right?
A true guy from Nines.
We'll tag these guys. You can follow me at DannyGonzo34 on Instagram and Twitter.
Follow me at Ben9Humor, Ben number 9 Humor, like benign humor on Instagram and Twitter. Follow the show at PRC Pod on Instagram and Twitter, or at PRC Podcast on TikTok. You can email us, contactprcpod@gmail.com. We have t-shirts, stickers, I don't know.
All that
Other
stuff.
crap.
Hey, go to, if you guys are interested in getting one of the 63's Venice shirts from Centigrade Clothing, you can go to firefightercrafted.com. New design is going to drop every month. We've got the Dead Alien coming out in August. That's Centigrade. You can follow Centigrade Clothing on Instagram, or go to firefightercrafted.com. It's where you can purchase that. There's a Centigrade page on Firefighter Crafted. You can also follow them on Instagram. We'll be updating the drops on there. Other than that, please go like and follow and subscribe and rate the podcast anywhere where you're listening. And thank you very much for listening. That's it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean. Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of soul, no times.